Welcome everyone to another episode of Retro Wrestling Reviews. Fredo Esparza here, and this week we look back at Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling's October 17th, 1981 episode. This episode was taped on October 17th, 1981 at the WPCQ TV studios in Charlotte, North Carolina. Bob Caudle and David Crockett are on commentary. And they are immediately interrupted for interviews by Jake the Snake Roberts and Jay Youngblood. They both demand a shot at the World Tag Team titles. Youngblood also wants to prove he can beat that loudmouth Rowdy Roddy Piper. Piper comes out and confronts Youngblood and tells him that he already beat one Indian, Wahoo McDaniel. Piper tells them they should have a death match to settle it. But he is quickly interrupted by David Crockett, who informs Piper that they already have a 10-minute match signed for this show. That is then followed by a music video featuring handsome Jimmy Valiant, which is just footage from Memphis Wrestling. And it's an old Memphis Wrestling music video that they did. So it's him riding his motorcycle and like showing off with the ladies, and then in between there's some match highlights in there. So the only thing is that since this is the WWE network that has this episode of Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, they had to use a different song due to copyright. That is then followed by a match featuring Jimmy Valiant, who beats Jim Nelson after an elbow drop. This was a very short match. Nelson does get in a little bit of offense, but it's mostly Jimmy bouncing around and controlling the match. After that match, we get the highlight match of this episode, which is Roddy Piper versus Jay Youngblood, which ends in a draw as they reach the 10-minute time limit. This match was great. Before the match, Piper boasts by saying he'll play the bagpipes after his victory against Youngblood. Piper and Youngblood exchange some hard chops. There's some great mat work early in the match. Youngblood reverses and tosses Piper to the outside. Piper calls for a timeout while he's outside. Announcers tell him there are no timeouts in wrestling. The crowd is very much into the match and cheering for Jay Youngblood. More hard chops from Youngblood as Piper returns to the ring. But that is quickly followed by Piper rolling back out of the ring. Early in the match, Piper just kept going in and out of the ring, and every time he would come in, Youngblood would just beat the crap out of him. Youngblood gets Piper with a leg drop, and again Piper rolls to the outside and yells, "Are you blind?" at the referee. Piper gets Youngblood with a backbreaker and follows with a bear hug. Jay breaks out with a headbutt. More chops from Jay Youngblood. Piper counters and gets Youngblood in a sleeper hold. Crowd starts a "Go Jay Go" cheer. Youngblood reaches the ropes, but Piper continues his attack. They start to brawl and exchange some hard chops. Youngblood goes for a small package, but Piper kicks out. They bump into each other and fall to the mat. Announcers mention there's 30 seconds left in the match as Piper goes for a pin on Youngblood. Youngblood kicks out and lays in more chops on Piper. They headbutt each other and knock each other out. Bell rings to notify everyone that the time limit expired. Piper continues to attack Youngblood until the referees get him away. This was a really great match. For a TV match, even for not even just a TV match, just a really great match. That is then followed by some promos of Blackjack Mulligan Jr., Paul Jones, and Johnny Weaver, who are doing them with less stature as the interviewer. That is then followed by the Ninja, who beats Charlie Fuller after hitting him with some hard chops. This was a very short match, and the highlight of this match was that the announcers actually thought the Ninja was the Great Kabuki. He ended up not being the Great Kabuki. It ended up being the Ninja, who would later gain fame as Mr. Pogo in Japan. After that match, Wahoo McDaniel is interviewed by Bob Caudle, who asks Wahoo what they have to do to get rid of Rowdy Roddy Piper. Wahoo tells him that he doesn't like Piper and tells Piper that whoever he brings in won't help him get rid of him. He warns Piper that he probably won't weigh 190 pounds after he's done with him. Jake Roberts then follows Wahoo, and he praises Jay Youngblood for the match he just had with Piper. He then talks about his rivalry with Ole Anderson. After the interviews, we get another match, as Bad Leroy Brown and Jake the Snake Roberts beat Ricky Harris and Ali Bay, after Brown hit a big splash on Harris. The heel team did get some offense, but this was kept very short. Brown seemed to be the focal guy in this match, as he was the one that was mostly the one that was really doing well in the match. Jake would pretty much just tag in and out. He did a couple of cool spots, and then he would be the one selling whenever the heels were getting in some offense. After that match, we get more promos as Kevin Sullivan it follows up, and he is then followed by Lord Alfred Hayes, who is joined by Chris Markoff and Nikolai Volkov. Lord Alfred Hayes was awesome in his promo, as he complained about going to the city that they were going to have their show at, which was some city in Roanoke, I think it was in Virginia, and that was awesome. Definitely Lord Alfred Hayes. I hope there's more footage of him. I think there's some stuff of him wrestling, but really I want to see more promos of him, because he is really a really good heel promo. After that, Sergeant Slaughter beats Frank Monte with the Cobra Clutch. This was another short match. Slaughter dominated the match. Slaughter is the new U.S. heavyweight champion, and that was mentioned by the announcers. But very short match. Monte, I think, might have got some offense, but Sergeant Slaughter was devastating in this match. That's the one thing you're going to get from Slaughter from the time he joined Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling through 82. The guy has some matches, and if he's in there with a jobber, he is just beating the crap out of the guy. Slaughter then does an interview where he talks about just recently winning the U.S. title, and he follows by insulting Bad Leroy Brown and Ric Flair. Ivan Koloff then joins Bob Caudle, and he talks about his feud with Ricky Steamboat not being over. Ole Anderson then joins Ivan Koloff and mentions that he can't defend the World Tag Team titles alone with Gene out with an injury. He lets everyone know that when Gene's ready, they'll defend the titles again. And that ends the show. So this was a really good show. There's a lot of short matches, but the Piper versus Youngblood confrontation and match is definitely worth watching. Rest of the matches, like I said, were very short. Watching Sergeant Slaughter just beat up on someone was pretty great on this episode as well. Plus he's really fun on promos as well at this point in time. Show went by very quickly. And it was a very fun show, so I highly recommend watching this. At the very least, watch the Jay Youngblood Roddy Piper match. Definitely one of the better matches you'll watch from that time period on television. Great, like I said, great match. Youngblood and Piper. I wish there was more of them. I wish there was more. I'm sure there's going to be more later on, but I wish there was more of them going up against each other, because they were really good. They had great chemistry going up against each other. Be sure to subscribe to the Retro Wrestling YouTube channel, where we'll have more wrestling show reviews as well as additional content. And also be sure to visit my websites, retrowrestling.com for classic wrestling reviews, and for Lucha, visit my website, luchaworld.com. For added content, you could check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/luchaworld. Thanks again, everyone, and talk to you again soon.